11 квітня.
It's April 11, Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform starts its operation. My name is Svetlana, and now we will be talking about the countermeasures against the enemy attacks and the defense of the Ukrainian sky. Joining us online is Ilya Yevlash, the spokesperson of the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Good afternoon, Mr. Ilya. Good afternoon, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Mr. Ilya, the last night was not calm. The enemy inflicted another strike on our power grid. So what was the tactics that they used? Well, we have witnessed the enemy having collected sufficient amount of rockets and drones to attack the facilities of our energy infrastructure. They inflicted strikes on Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa and Lviv regions. Generally, the air raid alerts this night started at 21:45 and lasted until 6 o'clock in the morning. The enemy used all of the capabilities available to them, including Shahed drones and different kinds of missiles. This night, there were 9 strategic bombers having taken off. Tupolev 95 and MS from airfield of Alenia, which launched X-555 and X-101 missiles from the region of Saratov. The missiles entered our airspace from the northern part of Ukraine and moving to the border with Belarus in the direction of Lviv region. 20 missiles were launched by the enemy. 16 of them were destroyed by the air defense forces of the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Also, the enemy used the MiG-31K bomber jets that are used as the carriers of Kinzhal missiles. There were 6 Kinzhal missiles launched against our facilities, which were difficult to be countered by our capabilities. Unfortunately, not all of them were downed. Obviously, we used the air defense systems of Patriot type, but unfortunately did not manage to down all of the enemy missiles. The enemy also used the guided aviation missiles of X-59 type. 2 of them were downed by our air defense forces. Plus, there were 40 more Shahed drones launched to distract the attention of the air defense forces. Meanwhile, the S-300 and S-400 missiles, in total number of 12, were launched against Kharkiv region. 36 drones were downed by the air defense forces, so we were able to mitigate the threat almost 100%, but we see that the enemy still continues trying to inflict strikes on our power grid facilities. Well, you've mentioned that the air defense capabilities are incredibly important for our protection. You've mentioned Patriot, but what are the other systems and what amount of them do we need to ensure the integral protection of our skies? Well, we need to build a combined air defense system with short, medium, and long range air defense capabilities in combination with the fixed wing aircraft. Talking about the nomenclature, we may use Gepard, SAMP, IRIS-T. Also, there were talks about supplies of Skynex, which are very efficient against drone. NASAMS and IRIS-T are medium range missiles that will help us protect our skies against the missiles that are flying to damage our power grid facilities and residential areas, and other air defense systems such as Patriot and SAMP, which are the air defense systems of long range. Patriot has proved itself quite efficient in terms of protection of Ukrainian skies. The manufacturers of SAMP, they also state that they are quite efficient for protection of the sky and protection against ballistic missiles. And unfortunately, Ukraine is currently incapable to manufacture these type of air defense systems. Obviously, we have other Soviet-type capabilities available to us, such as books, but the enemy keeps modernizing, keeps developing, they keep upgrading their missiles, try to find the ways to inflict more damage on our facilities. This is why I think that the future is for the Western air defense systems, which proved themselves efficient in protection of Ukrainian skies. So what is the minimum amount of such air defense systems that would make our air defense integral and impenetrable? Well, President Zelensky has already stated about 25 such systems which would cover our skies, but definitely we need more capabilities to cover our airspace, specifically in the forward edge of the battle area where our infantry keeps the maintains the defense positions. And on top of that, we also need the portable air defense systems usually used by mobile fire teams. We've seen the guided and cruise missiles being downed using the masterful launches of our air defense personnel, but we cannot provide any figures about talking about these man pads, because the Russians keep replenishing their reserves with the support of their partners, for example, drones that are supported by Iran, or ballistic missiles supplied by North Korea. Obviously, maintenance is also important there, and we don't know the exact numbers supplied to the enemy. Well, the mobile teams are quite efficient in countering enemy drones. Today they proved the extreme efficiency, 39 out of 40. But what is the overall efficiency of the mobile fire teams given their amount? Well, I cannot disclose the figures of those mobile teams, but there are mobile teams in the ranks of all branches and forces. I mean the fire teams of the State Bodyguard Service of Ukraine, Land Forces, National Guard, Territorial Defense, Air Force. So it's a combined force that use all the capabilities, including small arms and man-pads, use all reasonable effort to down the enemy's missiles and drones. These forces also include the countermeasures that jam the communication for the drones and missiles launched by the enemy. So our guys keep improving their capabilities too. They keep upgrading because the enemy starts using different measures to camouflage their drones. For example, they paint the drones in black. So all this weapons race requires more support by our partners and by regular Ukrainians who donate on a regular basis. So we use all of the capabilities, including like light projectors, and we want to thank all of the partners and all of the Ukrainians supporting the armed forces in all possible ways. Well, it's just another way that the enemy uses to destroy our residential areas and infrastructure is the guided aviation bombs. So what is the statistics of their use, and how can we counter those guided aviation bombs as well as enemy aviation? Well, we're witnessing the guided aviation bombs being used all along the forward edge of the battle area and in the depth of the Ukrainian defense. They keep modifying their technologies. They copy the technology of JDAM, the American bombs that have a guiding mechanism in their rear that can guide these weapons. So with the use of the tactical aviation, they come closer to the forward edge of the battle area, understanding that we have quite an efficient range of air defense forces. However, sometimes their pilots are quite risky, just risky enough to come close to the very edge of the battle area, but hopefully Shortly we will have the sufficient reserve of the rockets and missiles to counter such enemy's efforts. They inflict very intense strikes on Kharkiv region now, and the most efficient way of countering the guided aviation bombs is countering their carrier. So as long as the enemy understands that the carrier may be damaged with the air defense system, they will leave their efforts, hopefully. So we witnessed the enemy using the guided aviation bombs on the example of Avdiivka. They were dropping like up to 200 of them per day, and the main tactics of there is to level everything to the ground and to exhaust our forces. Well, those bombs are quite intense and powerful. Currently they're using the lightest ones, maybe 250 kilograms, which is the normal weight of such bomb. So if they try promoting ideas of using 3-ton or 1500 kilogram bombs, obviously it will hinder their efficiency, because such a huge weight would require additional mechanism of installation plus the carrying mechanism, and in terms of precision, the precision will be quite low. However, if such a powerful bomb falls, for example, near an apartment block, obviously it can produce quite a serious damage. Yes, but Ukraine has also got guided aviation bombs from the partners, for example from France. So what is the experience of their application? Well, we have J-dump bombs that were provided by our Western allies. They are quite powerful bombs with high precision, and the enemy repeatedly experienced their effect. Also, we have air capabilities such as Hammer. That is a capability that proved itself efficient in battle conditions. We adapted our aircraft specifically for those air damage capabilities. Without disclosing the figures, I can only state that we need more such capabilities that would improve significantly the life of both our infantry and our civilians who still stay in the areas along the flight lines, along the forward edge of the battle area. So our aircraft, they are still of Soviet type, and we keep getting equipment from the NATO partners. So how long does it take to adapt our carriers to the NATO weapons? Well, you know that enemy keeps doing the OSINT, the open source intelligence. So this is why I would rather keep some details secret. Let it be a surprise for enemy. Of course, it takes some time. Of course, there is some difficulty about that, to re-equip, to re-outfit the carriers that can carry this missile or this or that bomb. But we've proved multiple times that we know how to do it. There was an example of Storm Shadow missile that damaged the headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet in Crimea, a unique operation that was conducted by the air defense forces, who showed how masterfully they can use high-precision weapons when only military infrastructure is damaged, which is a legal target for Ukrainian forces, unlike Russia does dropping the bombs on the heads of the civilians, terrorizing them, terrorizing the population, which has nothing to do with the war. On top of that, we see the modifications of some missiles by them, when due to the reduction of the fuel tank, they add another warhead that is filled with metal balls, which are directly purposed for damaging the life force. And now those missiles are flying at our cities, at our civilians. Well, let's hope that we will have as much surprises as possible for the enemy that you mentioned. Let's ask the journalists from the floor if they have any questions. Good afternoon, Mr. Ilya, Maria Shenkarenko, Ukrinform. I have a couple of questions to you. it was mentioned that Russia does not only increase their attacks using the guided aviation bombs, but also they grow their manufacturing capacities. So to what extent aggressor can accumulate this type of munitions by the end of this year, and do they only have manufacturing capacities in their territory, or they also have supplies from their, so to say, partners? Well, it's more of a question to our main Directorate of Intelligence, who collect and analyze the information and dissimulate what can be said about the enemy. So yes, unfortunately, Russia still has enough capabilities. They have enough high explosion aviation bombs that they transform into guided aviation bombs. They add special machinery to them, and then they use these bombs to inflict strikes on Kharkiv, UMBB-96, the unified devices that help guiding the missile from the aircraft, from an aircraft, and using its speed and velocity to deliver those bombs in the depth of 80 to 90 kilometers in the depth of the territory of Ukraine. And of course, they have a lot of such heritage from the Soviet Union that they can modify using the existing capabilities and then drop those bombs on the cities along the forward edge of the battle area and other cities where the situation is more or less calm. As we've seen now, Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, and Sumy are being damaged with guided aviation bombs, and more cities that suffer from such strikes. But unfortunately, I can't give you exact figure about the numbers, but the numbers in Russia are still quite big. Well, recently you mentioned about the stages of training of our pilots for F-16 fighter jets. So what is the forecast for supply of this type of fixed-wing aircraft to Ukraine from our European partners like Netherlands and other countries? Well, thank you for your question. Currently, there are several teams being trained. We have pilots training in Denmark, in the United States of America, where they hone their skills to fulfill the tasks in Ukraine. Now they exercise on small targets, including Shaheds, cruise and guided missiles, against which our fighter jets will be used that are about to come from our partners. However, we cannot give you exact terms. Everything related to F-16s is happening or is discussed behind the closed doors with not a lot of information provided, and I would not say anything about the terms because this strategic uncertainty provides us with a space for maneuver and unexpected strike and possibility of an unexpected strike on the enemy. As soon as they come, we can discuss them openly, but for the time being, I would not like to disclose the terms, and our top-level government officials, including the military commanders, they are in constant negotiations with the partners who are about to provide us this type of aircraft. For example, currently, our pilots are being trained in Great Britain. That's the first course undergone by them. First in the course in English language and land training. Yet another team is through such course already, and they've moved to another country of the air coalition, to France, where they train on the light motor fixed-wing aircraft to increase the hours of flight and to master the controls. That's yet another phase before they switch to more serious fighter jet, where they can get more serious experience, which will be honed in the F-16 aircraft. Another question, please. Good afternoon, Andrei Sviatina, Ukrinform. A question to Mr. Ilya. What's your comment on the following information? We know that Kyiv is reliably protected, that in fact we have an iron dome over the capital, but such cases still happen, as the damage of construction bureau Luch, and then there was damage on the additional structure of the institute. And in conversation with the police who collect the debris, who put together the protocols, they say that it was a strike inflicted by missiles. And at the same time, you or your antecedent was saying like there were 2 missiles flying, 2 missiles were downed, or 3 missiles were downed out of 3, but we're all grown-ups. We understand that it's no occurrence that the debris of the missile fell on top of the construction bureau Luch. So what's your comment on that? Is it the saboteur groups working there who infiltrated their agents into those organizations, detonating them from the inside? Or is it really the debris of the downed missile falling on this facility, or having fallen at this facility? Thank you for your question. Well, I can only answer this question from the PR service of the Air Force. I cannot give any comments about the saboteur groups. That's out of my competence, but we were repeatedly saying that quite frequently we can just shot a missile and the warhead still can fall on the residential areas, diversion from its course. Well, obviously, then there would be no direct strike on the facility that they were targeting, but unfortunately the missile still falls somewhere. This is why we keep telling our civilians to go to shelters during the air raid attacks. The enemy uses a number of different air damage capabilities, including the UAVs, hypersonic missiles, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles. Obviously, they are the combined attacks that are made so to make the protection more difficult. So we definitely use all of the available capabilities to repel the air attack of the enemy with all the resources available to us. This is why we use the mobile teams and other air defense capabilities to the most efficient extent possible. But again, we urge all of the citizens to go down to the shelters because it can be dangerous in case of attack. Thank you very much, Mr. Ilya, for your answers. Let me remind you, joining us was Ilya Yevlash, the spokesperson of the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and Ukraine Media Center will be back on air at 1300, and we will be talking about the consequences and threats of enemy shelling and drone attacks on Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Stay tuned.